Fine. So now what I was explaining you is, now sometimes there would be a requirement for doing a deployment. So what do you mean by deployment is, you have your project deliverable or an artifact, which could be a jar or a var. Now, if you want that to be put into a particular production place from which you will be able to access, right? Because when you say a product, you cannot just directly access the file, you need to run it. So specifically if it is a web application, now you need to put it under a tool called web server. Okay, so there are different or various web servers like Apache web server, or you might have heard about WebSphere or Glassfish, JBoss. Like that, there are many web servers available where in a company they will be using any one of the web server where you want to put your particular application or the artifact that you have created inside it, and using that you will be able to access your project. Okay, so a web application means you need to access it from web. So for that you cannot directly access it through web. So basically you should need a web server. Through that web server you will be able to access it. So first thing what we need to do is, when we say a deploy, you have to take your artifact or a deliverable and you need to put that file or simply copy that file into a machine in which you have installed a particular web server, so that when you run your application you will be able to access it using website or using a URL. So when you have such a kind of scenario, then you will be doing a deployment. Now I'll show you one example where if you want to connect to a web server called as JBoss. Okay, JBoss is again a Java based web server or an application server which is used to deploy projects, and you can access the web pages that you have in your project using it. So now if you want to do such a thing, then once again you have to go back to the plugins. Now if I want anything to be done apart from our regular workflow of Maven's lifecycle, then we saw in the previous class you need to use a plugin, and based on that you have to use. So my requirement now is, I want to connect to a tool called JBoss, or I want to connect to a application server called JBoss, and whatever the jar file that we have created, I should be putting into it. That is what we call it as deployment. So if you have such a requirement, the first thing that we need to do is we need to add a plugin, correct? So first, for those who don't know, first thing what we have to do is we have to go and search for the plugin that is available specifically for that tool. So that case, now I will search for the JBoss Maven plugin. Okay, so once again, every plugin will have a home page. So if you go to that, you will be having the details about how to access it. And that way, go to the usage page, and that will give you the details on what are the structure that you have to use and the examples. Okay, so in my case, I am interested to actually deploy a particular application to this JBoss application server. So what is that application? Whatever jar file that I'm going to create, I'm interested to deploy. So that way, now you can see that we are going to follow the same structure as we did last time. And in that, we are going to specify the GAV and all the other details, correct? So now you have to go through this and specify. Now the same thing for simplicity, or to make it simple, I've already written where. Now let us take this and copy to any one of the module and try to run. So let's take module 2. Okay, and in that, now if you want to add a plugin, what will you do? Pretty much anywhere within your project file you will add this. Now if you just go back and try to refresh, every plugin should begin with build, and then it should have plugins, and in that every plugin you are using will be under a plugin tag. So since we are using only one plugin, in this because I deleted all the previous one that we had last session. So this time I have only one plugin, so I'm giving it here. So for this, first thing you need to tell what is the plugin, right? So that way we are saying this is the GAV of the plugin that it has to take. Next thing, you have to tell when to use, but I have not told when to use. So this way, now by default, I can call this plugin directly because I am not interested to be calling this part of any of the life cycle because it is my requirement where if I want, I should be able to call it. So I don't want to attach it to any of the plugin. I mean, any of the lifecycle phase of Maven. So that way, I'm not giving any phase attached to it. Then the third thing which we have to give is what exactly the plugin has to do. So that we will give using the configuration tag. Okay. So in this, now for the JBoss application server, you need to give certain data where first thing you will say, where is your JBoss home located? So basically, I have installed the JBoss in this particular directory. Okay, so I am going to use this. So I'm saying that I am using JBoss application server, which is installed in this directory. And then what is the server that you are going to use? I'm going to say it is a default. And then now, what is the file that you want to deploy? So I will give the GAV of that file once again so that it will automatically take which file? It will take module 2-1.0 snap.char automatically. So that now when I call this plugin directly, it will connect to this JBoss server and it will copy this file from your current build location to this particular location where the JBoss is running. Okay. So again, the application server will be maintained by someone else or a separate IT team. We have to take care of only connecting to it and deploying into it. So that way, now let's not worry about too much on how to start, but I'm just trying to show you for your practice. Okay, so I've already installed it and this is available in this location. So what I'm going to do is I'll go to this directory. So basically I'll go to this directory. Okay, actually I've not installed here. Let me take it up. Downloads. Just a minute. Let me have a quick search. Okay, it's here. Okay, this is where I have my particular JBoss. So I'm going to use this. Okay, so this is the location I have. So I'm just replacing with the location. So now first to start it, I'll go to this directory. Okay, and in this, you have to go to bin folder and there is a file called standalone.bat which you need to run. So basically I'm starting the JBoss application server. Okay. Now I just wait until it comes up. And once it is coming up, then you can go to the location of the machine that you have installed, wherein it have installed the JBoss on my machine itself. So if you go to the port number called 9990, you can directly access, as well as you can give this IP address, which is the default IP address any machine will be considering as the local machine. So if you can go to any one of them, you can see that the JBoss application server will be accessible. Okay. So now if I go here, it's not yet started. Something is wrong. Do I have? Mhm. Okay, I'm not sure. I'm missing something. I think there's some configuration I have to set. But anyway, I'll show you this. Just remind me next class. The first thing I'll show you is I'll restart it again. I need to check what configuration is missing because let's try once more. If it comes up, it should be good. If not, I'll skip it. I'll fix it and tomorrow I'll show you. But the focus, what I'm trying to say is, so if you're using this particular plugin, then it will connect to this application server that we are running. And in that, it will go ahead and deploy whatever the files that you have specified. So that is how for calling this, you will be basically calling this particular plugin's goal. Because when you want to directly call, you can see that with respect to each goal, there is a specific activity that you can do. Because now using the same plugin, I can start or I can restart or I can deploy a package or I can undeploy. So that is how with respect to each of the goal that you want to work on, you will be calling the specific keyword, which is the goal name. So in my case, if I want to do a deployment, then specifically I'll call this deploy where it will connect to this application server, and in that whatever that package you have given, it will deploy it. Okay, so this is one of the example that I wanted to show, but anyways, I'll try to fix it tomorrow. But at least to an overview, is it clear that you guys got what we are trying to do? Wherein now if you see, we are using different plugin. So like this, whenever you have different requirement to work on a specific tool, you will be using a particular plugin, and with that, you will give all the details, and based on how you want to call, you will be accessing it. Okay.